people anywhere. But yeah, you have to be present in the video for sure.
Hello, everybody. Glad you're excited because I'm a little bit nervous.
You'll do great.
How's everyone doing tonight? Hey, Mary. Yeah, it's a Monday so far. Yeah, that's about right. My wife and I spent the weekend in Waco seeing the fixer-upper people stuff, and didn't get a lot of chance to really study, but I did go over the stuff before we left and we came back. So
Patrick, I don't think I've ever asked you, when are you already a BCBA, or are you still waiting to test?
I'm still waiting to test. I'm still working on hours.
Oh, okay. Well, you sure do know your stuff to not have tested yet.
Yeah, I feel good about a lot of stuff, but a lot of it because of this, just talking stuff out loud and going over it. But I
Yeah.
have real bad test anxiety,
Me
and
too.
now
This
I'm
will be
starting
my
to
third
shift
time
toward mock
taking it.
exams. So when do you sit for the test?
My third time is on the 17th.
Oh, well, I hope you pass.
I'm
Thank
right
you.
there. I'm right there with you, Danielle.
Yeah, it's struggle bus, but it's because I'm so anxious about test taking. So I have to slow myself down and not let myself overthink it, not second guess. And I made a 390 last time, so I feel like I'm there.
So close.
Yes.
I'm on the 17th as well.
It's St. Patrick's Day, so
Yeah,
we're going to take a look at the Irish with us.
That's what I was hoping for.
Y'all are too kind. Yeah, I started studying beginning of last year. Before I finished my coursework, I started seeing the horror stories on ABA study group, and I was like, oh, man, I don't want to be one of those people. And so I just bought the Cooper and just kind of went from there. And it's been a struggle bus for the last year. And then this year I started to kind of come around because now I'm starting to review everything that I did for my coursework and everything I did last year. So it's really been helping out a lot, just talking things out. And if I don't know it, I don't know it. If I do know it, all right.
Are you going to test fifth edition, or are you going to be able to swindle in on the fourth?
What do you mean?
Are you going to be able to test before 2022?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, good.
At the rate that I'm going, I'll have my hours finished up either right when summer starts or when school starts back up.
Nice.
I can't collect when I'm off contract.
Yeah.
But ain't too worried. I mean, COVID kind of threw me for a curveball. Lost a lot of hours this time last year.
Yep.
And then lost some hours in November and December. But it is what it is. And I've been blessed with studying a lot more. So I could complain or say how great it's been, because it really has been.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yes, it does. But like I said, now I'm kind of shifting toward the mock exams and just doing a lot of mocks. And that's really kind of helped my speed and putting the knowledge into the questions and starting to pick my brain apart of slow down, take my time, and all those different things. So I hope it all works out for you and me and everybody else. This is a lot of content. All right, we'll wait a few more minutes. We got some people coming in, and if not, that's okay. Usually we don't have a big crowd because everyone catches either the YouTube or the Facebook Live. I haven't even posted last week's stuff yet. Falling behind. I started doing the YouTube channel because it was easier just to send everybody there than to send the recording out to everybody.
You have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, Shruti told me, you gotta do it, you gotta do it. So I was like, all right. And
Love
like I said, it was basically, it's my name, nothing fancy. And it's just a place to put all the content at.
Okay, I'll have to check that out.
One of my favorites is the Shane Spiker MO talk. He came to visit us, and it was so cool. And he broke it down so good. It's really helped me out a lot. Because MOs and SDs can get kind of tricky. They really can. Got some people just coming in now. We got a group. Well, while we're waiting a few more minutes, I was kind of give you guys the heads up. If it's, if y'all have been here for the first time or your 8th millionth time, I really do appreciate it. Don't forget all Zooms are recorded. For basically, it's because people live all around the world and all around the country, and it's been easier to have the recording available on the YouTube channel. People can be able to watch it. We're also going to be on Facebook Live, so I can catch other people as well. So just be mindful of that. So if you don't want your face, you don't have to have the video on. If you want to change your name, that's okay too. I'm not an expert. I'm not even a BCBA. I'm just a guy who started studying a year ago, and a lot of people have joined me for the ride. And apparently, a lot of people are passing their test right now. So I do feel pretty happy about that. I wish everyone the best. I hope everyone passes their test. I won't be sitting for mine until probably either this summer or when school starts back up. Probably when school starts back up. It just depends how I finish my hours. I'm gonna be this close when summer starts. But if there's a question or a concept you're kind of like not really sure about, and if you may know more about it than me, that's always okay. Please don't be afraid to speak up or put it in the chat or whatever you're more comfortable doing. We're all in this together. We're all here to learn together as a group. All right, with that being said, we're going to tackle generalization through the behavior analysis for lasting change. It has some concepts I've been struggling with, so it was really nice to kind of dig in the Mayer book and see things for a different perspective. I still like my Cooper. He's still my go-to, but sometimes Cooper gets really technical and it gets really difficult to understand. So this is the book I used for my coursework. We didn't use Cooper. This was our go-to guy for the main principles class. So I'm kind of wanted to go through it one more time to have the knowledge stick and then share with everybody my findings. If you're part of the Rock and Study group, I post all of my outlines. Longer chapters get kind of at the end get a little bit different, but I post everything that I make. I always share. It helped me when I made it. I learned the most, and after that, if it helps somebody else going through it, that's great. So everything's available as well. The PowerPoints pretty much they do come straight off the notes. I don't go word for word like I used to. In case you haven't noticed, I went from like 67 slides to 18, maybe less, just trying to hit the main points of the main content. So if you definitely if you want access to that, please join our Rock and Study group if you haven't already joined. It's great. It really is. Active participation is the key, and just talking out ideas, talking out things. It's kind of funny how everyone's been giving me kind words, and I really appreciate it. This Monday night, Tuesday night, or whatever night I was on, it just started out as a guy with a book and wanting to study with people, and it's turned into this, and it's pretty cool. But like I said, we're all in this together, and we're all in the study journey together, and the best way to learn is to sometimes talking it out. All right, here we go. Generalization. When you dive into Mayer, he goes into generalization as a key, as a whole. He goes into why teachers use generalization, the importance of generalization, and then he breaks into discrimination and stimulus generalization. Then he breaks into response generalization and and stimulus generalization. He really wants to remind you that what's our ultimate goal is to have those behaviors go everywhere. Like hand washing, for example. I want that skill to be at school and at home. I want that skill to be generalized into other areas, other settings. But when distinguishing between the terms discrimination and stimulus generalization, what's really kind of the best way to look at it, and the previous chapters really set us up for this, was stimulus generalization is really loose stimulus control. It's very loose. We have our response, and then we have all these stimuluses that go with it. Very loose stimulus control. And then we have our discrimination, and it gets tighter. We pair our discriminant stimuli with that end result, and we know it's a little bit tighter. But I can't talk tonight. Discrimination training involves restricting the range of stimuli that are designed to set the occasion or evoke a given behavior. I really love this example about this little boy who's growling. It's really funny because I've been in the classroom. I still work in education, and we have boys that growl or boys that do certain things. And what's really funny is, what's our ultimate goal? We don't want the boys to growl at school. We don't want the boys to fight at school. We don't want the boys to run at school. But there are acceptable places that can be done. When you stop and really kind of think, it made me think about the PFA and the SBT training. My way, your way. Well, your way can be a lot of different things, but we're going to do your way over here, and we're going to make sure my way is over here, and we discriminate when we can do those certain behaviors. So this week really kind of tied into a lot of different concepts, at least for me, and I thought it was really cool. But let's go back to Matt. This is Mayer's example here. Matt growls like a dog, but the growling, we all agree, it's a problem. If you have a kid in your classroom or you have a kid in your clinic, is it socially acceptable to just growl like a dog in public? Not really. I think when I was younger, adults called it the Walmart behavior. If it's suitable for Walmart, when you go to Walmart, it's suitable for anywhere. Of course, that's probably changed over the years. But Matt, we don't want him growling. We don't want him acting like a dog. But in his bedroom, or even the bathroom, or other certain places, that's okay. He can growl. He can have the growling room. He goes to his bedroom, he can growl all he wants. And after a while, Matt learned that he can discriminate when it was acceptable and when it's not. Kind of like that, the appropriate school behaviors. There's things that they're appropriate for school, and there's things that are not appropriate for school. We discriminated. We use discrimination training. When we go to grandma's house, there's just some words that we just don't want to say around grandma, but there's some words we probably say at the house. That's discrimination training. We've learned where the behavior was acceptable, and we learned where it was not. I know I'm probably the only person to say this though, but I have a 14-year-old, my stepson, and we always, make jokes saying at home he acts a fool, but at school he's so great. Well, he's discriminated. He knows at school he has to act a certain way, and certain behaviors are acceptable and certain behaviors aren't. And, and at home it's a little bit different. We're more relaxed. Everyone discriminates. Everyone knows what behaviors are and aren't acceptable. Discrimination training's main purpose is coaching our clientele to recognize critical stimulus features that differentiate the SDs for reinforcement and the FDs for extinction, where reinforcement's not available. Yeah, that's funny. It's funny because a lot of kids that I work with, because I'm the behavior specialist, there's kids that act great at school and act fools at home. They act fools at school and act great at home. But they're discriminating if you stop and think about it. My kids are not afraid of me. It is a behavior contrast. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I thought this was really neat, so I kind of want to throw some examples. Like I already kind of set myself up for it. There's some behaviors that are acceptable in some conditions, and they're not acceptable in others. That discrimination part. You can hit and you can fight in the octagon, but in the classroom, no. Sometimes get the kids around, it gets kind of a big deal, but overall, hitting and boxing and fighting is not acceptable at school. It's not. Running, can't do it in the house, can't do it in the classroom. I wouldn't think about church, but on a track or outside, it's okay. And really trying to find examples to bring it home. Helped me out, and I really hope some of you guys out too. I got my next slide has a little graphic I kind of borrowed, kind of remade my own to kind of help it bring home to me. But stimulus generation, it broadens the range of stimuli or SDs, objects, sounds, times, places, and other people, and so on, sharing common properties that function to set the occasion or revoke particular behaviors. So we have a response, and we have all this stimuli that share common characteristics. They're almost like feature stimulus class. You could argue maybe arbitrary stimulus class, but I would argue feature because they share features together. They're all like, we're gonna have an example next slide, but cats or dogs. A child can see them all as dogs or cats. This was from Mayer at the stoplight. Stop to red lights and green to green lights. We associate a lot of green would go, or green lights to go. Not really sure, but I have a better example in the next slide. But it's the ability to generalize on the basis of common stimulus features that play a critical role in the lives of all organisms. So let's go to my better example. Let's start off with cats. Cats is my stimuli, and then I have a cheetah, and I have a house cat. That all generalizes as different stimuli that generalize into cats. In stimulus generalization, the individual responds in the presence of a new stimulus the same way as a previously taught stimulus, but having some of the same characteristics. So let me go in the chat box and please answer. If you don't, it's okay. But what are the same characteristics that a cat shares? So for these two cats to have stimulus generalization, what are the same characteristics that they share? Beautiful. What else? Cats have 4 legs. Cats have a tail. Cats have a fur. I'm not going to get too close to find out if a cheetah purrs or not. I'm not doing that. But yeah, they share common characteristics. So that would make sense. We're going to generalize. Yes, Danielle.
Okay, so I just want to throw this out there because this confuses me and I'm hoping you can fix it for me.
Okay.
So with stimulus generalization, I always get confused on like scenarios. So it might be a scenario about washing dishes and you're using like a sponge one time and the next time, you're using a wash rag. And I always try to break it apart to tell myself, okay, is this multiple stimulus or is this multiple responses to figure out which one it is? And I keep getting them turned around.
Well,
Like
response.
I keep flipping them because I keep thinking, okay, well, washing the dish, you're washing the dishes, but then I always get them flipped in my mind to try to differentiate which one's which.
What helps me out with is stimulus generalization and response generalization. And I'm finally starting to get the red light, the light bulb here. Response is behavior, right? So washing the dishes, that probably, I don't know if it's the best example, but there's different responses to wash your dishes, right? Use the wash rag, use the whatever thing, scrubber thing, use all the different things you could use to wash dishes. So you're looking at all the different responses. Your stimuli is basically the dish, and we're looking at all the different responses, all the different behaviors of how to wash that dish. My example on the next slide was playing golf. Your golf clubs would be your stimulus. So your response generalization would be putting, would driving the ball. We could use basketball. Basketball, you have your ball, and all your responses that go with it would be shooting the ball, dribbling the ball, holding the ball, passing the ball, all those different responses.
So I think that's where I'm getting them flipped. I'm
Right.
thinking of them opposite. I'm thinking, okay, washing the dish, that's the ultimate response you're trying to reach. So all of those other things are the different stimulus. And playing basketball, ultimately you want to, play basketball. So your stimulus would be, the different ways that you can do that. I think that's why I'm getting them confused.
What's helped me with stimulus generalization, and it's been really because of recent weeks, is I'm pairing that now with a loose stimulus control. It's very loose because now we're dealing with just a bunch of the same things. They all share these common characteristics. Cats, dogs, vehicles, airplanes. They're like feature stimulus class. And it's loose stimulus control because it has all that generalization tied to it. There isn't that discrimination that separates them, and that's really helped me a little bit lately with that difference. Penny she had a great generalization thing not too long ago, and I try to pull a few things, and then Sheree did too. It's a tricky subject. It really is, but like I said, when you look at stimulus generalization, think of all the stimulus. When you think of response generalization, think of all those responses as well. Yeah, I still do it. I agree, Regina. Draw the bubble for your stimulus and all your responses, and that's response generalization. Draw your bubble for response and all your stimulus, and it helps. It really, really does. It really makes a difference. That's why I spent a lot of time this week trying to draw things out, because when I made a lot of these graphics, it really kind of helped pull together. I had pulled a Rogue. Rogue has a great visual. If you haven't been there, it's free. They have a lot of free graphic organizers. And I kept going to that and looking at it and looking at it and looking at it. Response generalization and stimulus generalization. But stimulus generalization is basically categories. They all share something together, and we just give it different names. This on the right side, This was my way to bring it home a little bit. The left side, Mayor brought the point about how poison ivy and a regular plant, if we generalize those, we may get poison ivy. So it's really important, you know, because one's poisonous and one's not, but they both shared the same characteristics, green plants. So that's a big reason there to try to discriminate the differences. That's why I pulled this here, the response, all those different stimulus. And then I pulled my example out, car. A car, we have the truck, I probably should put vehicle. Vehicle probably would have been a better example. And it has, you know, the SUV, then we have the Mustang, then we have the big guy. I probably should put vehicle. Vehicle probably would have been a better choice. But the point was, my response is car, and all of these are being told as car. But when I start to discriminate, the SUVs or the cars or the trucks or the big machinery, that turns into a little different story there. But most of the time when we look at stimulus generalization, we look at overgeneralization. Like I said, that loose stimulus control. All men are dad. All men with white coats are doctors. The list can go on and on and on. All dogs are your dog's name, or puppy. So discriminating among stimuli appropriately is the opposite. That's the ultimate goal, is discriminate. You know, overgeneralize that all those are cars, all those are vehicles. But when you discriminate, like I just said, then we have SUVs, then we have sports cars, then we have trucks, and then we have heavy machinery. And all these things I made are on the outline. They're really, really hard to bring over here. Now, response generalization, and he had an AKA, is response induction. Now we're going to flip it. We have our stimulus, and now we have all of our responses. Response is another word for behavior. So I have my stimulus, and here's all these behaviors. Here's all these responses that go with that stimulus. Here, so on my left, I have praise and all the different responses that go with that stimulus praise. Super job, well done, great job. Thank you. Yeah, I had a golf one, and it took me a while. I didn't want to, mess it up, and I was really trying to figure out, because I had to stop and think about what was the stimulus and what were the responses. Because Mayer had it where how he was swinging from far, the driving, he was putting. But what was my stimulus? My golf clubs. You really break it down, it's the golf clubs. And then all the different responses, all the different types of golf games would go with it. If your stimulus is the basketball, all your different types of playing, your dribbling, your shooting, your three-point shooting, your slam dunking, all your different responses that go with that basketball would be response generalization. Yeah, visuals have been the key. And then when we start to get it, as the chapter started to continue, then we started looking at generalization itself. So let's step away from stimulus generalization. Let's step away from response generalization. And now just look at generalization. The goal as a teacher, the goal as the clinician. Our kids, our clients to generalize those skills in the multiple settings. So we're shifting thought here. That's kind of a big shift when we're all struggling with stimulus generalization and response generalization, and then go bam into generalization. But that's what we're trying to do at this point in the chapter. We're going from that to this. So when we train generalization, according to the text, the train the hope approach, it doesn't always work. My opinion is probably the reason why social stories don't work. I read a story how to be nice, and we're gonna be nicer now. I read a story how to brush my teeth, and now I know how to brush my teeth. A lot of hope going on. But the frequent failure of training and hope is one of the reasons why focusing on generalization and discrimination aspects is an important teaching typo, big time there, management skill, one that should be addressed from the very beginning of any behavioral change program. What's our ultimate goal? For our client to maintain skills when we're gone and generalize skills across settings. That's our ultimate goal. So we have to build that into our program. We're going to build that by introducing minimally intrusive prompts, such as a gesture, a familiar facial expression. But then if those don't work, the less intrusive, then we're going to get more intrusive. We're going to try different things. Mayor has a plan of some different strategies to promote generalization, and we're going to get to those right now. Strategies for promoting generalization. Once again, I'm going to try to do my best on these because it was a little bit of a trip. And I try to find some visuals, and most of my examples are from the text. One way to plan for generalization is to request generalization, ask for generalization, suggest your clientele use the skills they already know. Why reinvent the wheel? They maybe already know what to do. So why don't you try the blank skill that we learned during the in-service? A lot of, and I've seen it in my field, I've seen it with people I work with. We give the teachers the stuff, and then we kind of hope they got it. No, we need to teach them those skills and then give them a chance to perform it. But ask for generalization, give them a chance to use those skills they already have, and then reinforce all approximations. Mayer had some great examples to go with request generalization about chores. I thought this was kind of interesting. Remember how politely you asked to be excused for your chores so you could see the basketball finals at grandma's house? Could you use that voice over here? Now, I don't think it's kind of said that way at our house, but you know how to act at grandma's house. Could you bring that over at our house? Or go to wait staff. We've all been there as a customer, and I hope we're very appreciative of the people on the other side. I used to be a server, but can you greet? I've seen you greet customers. I've seen you do a great job. Can we do it to everybody? I saw you do a great job when the boss was here, when the manager was here, when the general manager is here. Can we do that when they're gone? Can we do that when it's slow? Can we do it when it's busy? You have the skills. So let's, we're not reinventing the wheel. They didn't have those skills to begin with, be a little bit different. Then I try to pair up some slides for a while, so just kind of bear with me. Another example was, another method was prompt several people in various environments to deliver reinforcers. You need that collaboration. If you have the teacher, the parent, the therapist, we're all on the same page, and we all need to be using the same reinforcers and the same prompts and the same everything. That way, those skills and those behaviors, they generalize in all situations. Those mediating reinforcement for a particular behavior often become SD for reinforcement for the recipient to engage in that behavior. So if everyone helps us out and everyone's on the same page, everyone's on the same team, then those SDs for reinforcement occur more often. We also want to teach the behavior in various environments sequentially. Another way to promote generalization is to teach the behavior sequentially, first in one environment and then the next. If we work on doing a particular skill at school and we master it, and we want that skill to generalize into being at the store or being at home, then we're going to introduce it to the next setting and the next setting. We want that client to understand that skill and have it be fluent in one environment first. When do you teach a skill in one situation after another? You are pairing the various antecedent stimuli with the behavior and its reinforcers. When some of the SD for reinforcement are present in other environments, generalization of those settings becomes more predictable. Like I said, now we're shifting gears to just teaching generalization. Mayor talked about using a generalization map. Please don't ask me what that is. I'm just going to give you what Mayor says it is. It's a map to remind program developers and implementers of various parameters across which they plan to apply and demonstrate must be autocorrect, and the combination of the effects of their generalization strategies. Basically, it's a map, probably a graphic organizer as well. This is my take, and I could be wrong. And it maps out all the parameters, how we're going to generalize the skill, how we're doing it, who's involved. We're also going to incorporate common stimuli across instructional environments. The more likely features of the environment resemble each other in particular ways, sharing common SDs, the greater the likelihood that responding will generalize across environments. Skinner says the opposite too. Opposite can happen. The lower those difference, the lower the probability of stimulus generalization. If you're unable to teach in the natural setting, to do so in an environment that shares as closely as possible as conditions which be used in the future. That's why you could program common stimuli to have that environment have a lot of key pieces of the natural setting. Promote fluency. People are more likely to engage in a behavior with the less effort it requires, according to Song and Schwartz. That does make sense. The less effort required, the more often we're going to do things. Any skill, basic or complex, can be considered truly mastered only when admitted fluently and independent of prompts. Isn't that kind of our goal as studying for the BCB exam? Our goal is to promote fluency and do it without SafeMed cards, do it without a Quizlet, do it without all these prompts to help us remember answers, remember terms. We're trying to gain fluency here. We also want our skills to generalize in different situations and settings. What we learned at work, we want to learn at home. And what we learn at home in our study sessions, we want them to be at work or vice versa. We also want to apply strategies designed to facilitate carryover into the natural setting. That's kind of a goal in itself. I don't think Mayor needs to really tell us that. We need to design strategies where the natural setting is where those skills can be carried out. If you carefully assess relation between the behavior of concern and the environment in which is emitted, you should be able to identify conditions standing ready to support it. Then it talks about correspondence training, delivering reinforcers contingent on the correspondence or agreement between verbal reports, saying, and actions. Doing is one technique for bringing overt behavior under the governance of rules. I'm not quite totally sure on that one, but I just put the definition there. We want to pre-assess and reduce support for functional interfering maladaptive behavior. This is basically, we're going to conduct that functional assessment of interfering behavior under all generalization situations. And then for optimal results, we're going to reinforce alternative adaptive behaviors incompatible with the unwanted behavior. But nonetheless, yield the individual equivalent or more powerful reinforcers under each and carry generalization circumstance. Basically, we're going to pre-assess and we're going to look for things that provide reinforcement for the other behaviors. Sounds a lot like DRO in a way. We're going to provide sufficient exemplars. This one kind of got me a little bit in the past when I've been studying, so I spent a little bit more time on over the weekend. I think I'm still just a little bit just as confused, but I think I got a little bit more to it. When I think of exemplars, I'm trying to think of the word examples. So that's been helping me out a little bit. Provide sufficient examples. The more examples or exemplars your clients experience, the more fluent and general their response patterns will tend to become. That's really kind of helping me put that together. It's critical stimulus conditions for greetings that might include relatives, friends, and teachers. So our examples would be the relatives, the friends, and the teachers. We want to be able to greet people from all that generalize all those different people. It's really kind of hard to find an example, but I think that was the best one. I did one on managerial staff. I think this was the one where we want to be able to do the skills that were role played or whatever. I think teaching loosely was the one where they brought up something else. I'll get myself panicked here or whatever. But Repping Karch in 91 suggested that we can increase the likelihood of desired generalizations by including multiple relevant examples of stimuli that are supposed to occasion the related behavior. We want to bring in examples, multiple exemplars that occasion that behavior. Holth stated successful multiple exemplar training involves reinforcing an acceptable range of response topographies. That's where I got the grading part at. That's been my trick, multiple examples. And training loosely, this was kind of interesting, and I try to bring the example the text had. Stokes and Baer suggest you encourage transfer by conducting teaching with relatively little control over the stimuli presented and the correct responses allowed, so as to maximize sampling of relevant dimensions. That's just a lot of stuff happening. But basically, I want to broaden the variety of stimuli serving an SD. The example that they had in the book was, if your goal is to have cheerful staff and great customer service, we all know what that looks like, we're going to target and we're going to reinforce the wait staff when they do it for everybody. The person at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday, just as much as the person at 8:30 on a Friday night. It doesn't matter gender, race, customer, if it's an old lady or it's a younger couple, if the restaurant's busy or not, it doesn't matter. We're always going to provide cheerful service, and we're going to reinforce that. We're going to use indiscriminable contingencies. This one kind of gets me still. That's why I brought the car example. It really kind of helped me out a little bit on that. At least the example did a little bit. Although specific instructions of that precise task completion alter performance is well established. Yet you are seeking further generalization, and you begin to loosen the clarity of conditions under which the behavior is to be reinforced. You're unable to discriminate contingencies in effect at any particular moment in time. You are only responding to loosely related cues. So in other words, clear situation-specific stimuli promote discrimination, and indiscriminable contingencies tend to foster generalization. So here's the example from the text. We're driving along on a highway. I think we've all been there. And several cars pass by and they flash their headlights. Or they could be in our rear view mirror on the interstate and we see the headlights flashing. Now we've learned that flashing headlights usually means something. It could mean there's fog ahead, there could be an accident, there could be a semi pulled over. But for most of the time, at least for my neck of the woods, flashing lights are, when the person drives by you, are usually telling you that there's a cop sitting on the road and he's giving you a hint that you might need to slow down. But then we slow down. We're not even speeding. We're not going terribly fast. might be speeding a little bit. We're not going terribly fast, but we slow down because 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever years ago, someone gave us a ticket. So we generalize the whole situation. I see that cop in this area. This is where I got a ticket that one time. So I'm going to slow it down. The response of driving within the speed limit transfers across all those situations, even though you may only receive one ticket in your life. This is probably why I've been doing the seatbelt better for the last how many years, because there's certain areas where I drove by, at least 2 for sure, that I remember. He was sitting right there and he pulled me over. But it's just funny because, you know, it's true. We do generalize these situations, these specific stimuli in the car. They bring on that. That's just kind of helped. That their example really helped me. It really, really did. All right. I hope I made sense of this. This is some tough stuff. This is a tricky chapter. It really, really was. Just giving y'all heads up, the Cooper won't be meeting tomorrow night. I couldn't get anybody to, I'm not putting pressure on you guys. It's your responsibility. But I had a busy weekend, so I only really had time for one chapter. So even if I could have done both, I didn't have time. So there won't be Cooper tomorrow night. But next week, hopefully, we'll get back on track with the Monday and the Tuesday. Next Tuesday, actually, we're gonna have Todd. It won't be tomorrow, it'll be the weekend before, and he's gonna break down the instructional methodologies. Really exciting. I'm excited. I really, really am. But I really do appreciate you guys. I really do. And you'll have a good night, and I'll see y'all next week. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.